Yo, what's up? Welcome to KindaFunny Games Daily for Tuesday, January 30th, 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing, Adio Jr. Joining me is Double Fine's Tim Schafer.
Hello. Thank you.
Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting. I've never been in the big, new, fancy studio here.
Yeah, when you got here, I was like, oh yeah, welcome back. And then you mentioned that, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess you've not been here. That's wild.
I mean, I've been to the actual spare bedroom.
Oh, wow, really?
like apartment.
Did you come to the studio after that?
And then I went to the one on
The smaller
Ocean.
studio.
Yeah, and the smaller studio. And this one is amazing because it's crazy.
Oh yeah. Well, welcome. What do you think so far?
It's beautiful. Coffee is good. Gave me a mug with him and his dad's face on it. There we go.
I feel like the giant video wall is definitely a step up from the small spare bedroom.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Welcome in. I know there's like a lot of Double Fine fans in the building, which makes it really cool that you're here, right? Because like 2022 was Psychonauts 2? 2021? Yeah. I remember like all of the second half of 2021, Barrett Courtney wouldn't shut up about having to make me and a few other people play Psychonauts 2.
Yeah, I hope you found the time.
I'm still waiting, Bless.
I'm still trying to make the time.
Look, you guys, I recommend it. I'll guarantee money back.
Yeah.
Don't like it. Yeah. Don't worry.
I mean, I'm not really. I'm getting on Xbox Game Pass anyway, so it's not like I'm really spending money on playing.
That's why I offered to give you your money back.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
One thing I will say for Double Fine and for your games is that I feel like Double Fine is the kind of studio where you like if you're not into like one genre of game, you might be able to find another game that you're super into. Because even though I've not gotten around to Psychonauts 2, I'm a big Broken Age person. Like I loved Broken Age back in the day, and so I'm like, I feel like that's my Double Fine, whereas Psychonauts 2 is Bear's Double Fine. But like if I look around in the office, I'm sure there's gonna be some other games that people point out as like, oh no, this is my Double Fine game.
Yeah. I think because we always try to be not one of those companies that just does one genre. People are like always like that company's got shooter DNA. But our DNA is like just whatever inspires us.
Yeah.
Whatever makes us feel really creative and what we haven't seen before, but with some sort of humor usually.
Is that still like a feasible and fun way to tackle it in 2024? As games continue to grow, games continue to like get more expansive, more expensive to make, and all this stuff. How is it chasing that Double Fine energy of, hey, we want to be creative, we want to go with the flow of what our creative spirits are telling us? Yeah,
I mean, I think that's always, because I've been doing it now for like 30 years, and like I feel like one of the most challenging things for doing games for a long period of time is just staying inspired and engaged. You see people, it's a lot of burnout in the industry, because people get exhausted and sometimes treated harshly, and I think a lot of it is just being in touch with like, why do you love games? Like, why did you start playing games in the first place when you're younger? So yeah, I think it's essential to survival in the games industry is to really be constantly looking into yourself and saying, what do I love about games, and how can I make more of that? Like, what do I want to put into what do I want to make more of in this world? And because that will just make you every day just more excited about going to work and making stuff.
Hell yeah. And that's also a thing I think that Day of the Devs does, right? You're here, and Greg Rice is in the back, is here to talk a bit about Day of the Devs, which we'll get to in a second in the show. But of course, Day of the Devs is a really cool event that you guys put on to highlight really cool indie games in the space. You guys just went 100% nonprofit, which is really exciting.
Independent.
And I got to go to Day of the Devs during, not Summer Game Fest, the Game Awards, when you guys were holding it about a month or so ago. And it's really cool to go and to see just the amount of different types of games that are there. Like I did a whole preview on our Gamescast a few weeks after, where I talked about all the games that I played, and it went from me talking about a fighting game where you get like 1 or 2 hits before you die, to then talking about another game. I forget exactly what it's called, but it was like a toilet paper game where you like shove a Joy-Con into a toilet paper roll, and you have a piece of cardboard, and you're like, leaning it back and forth to try and navigate a maze on the screen. Like those are the kind of games that you guys highlight at Day of the Devs, and for that, like I'm excited whenever it comes back around, right? And so shout out to them.
Me too. Like we put the sizzle reel together for all the games in the show, and when you watch them like one after another, you're like, that's right, video games are amazing.
Yeah, video games can be so cool, and you can do so many creative things with them. Before we get into the show proper, one question I like to ask guests on the show: what is your favorite game of all time?
Oh man, for years I would have said something different things, but I feel like it might be Breath of the Wild. I think now.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think I lived in that game for so long, and I never wanted it to end, and I would just come back to it and just kind of walk around. It really took over. I think my number one thing in games is just exploration. I just love to just find little hidden things around corners, and that game is just so rich with that.
Have you gotten around to Tears of the Kingdom?
Oh yeah, no, now I'm living in that. I got yeah, that's a game where I pop in and out of. Like I was playing Tears of the Kingdom for a long time. I popped out and I played through Cocoon. If you played,
Oh, yeah.
really, I love puzzle games like that. And then now I'm back into it. And then in different ways, like I just started going into the depths. And for a while, for months, I just lived in the depths. I was becoming this weird underground cave dwelling person.
Becoming like a mole creature.
Yeah, it felt like old. There's something about it. Feels like you're in a place where you shouldn't necessarily be. Like they didn't even. You're standing on a rock. They didn't think you'd think. I don't know. I was really obsessed with it, but now I'm back up in the sunshine. Everybody, it's healthy.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like often now within the last year, people will be like, "Okay, what's your favorite game of all time?" Because my answer for the longest time also has been Breath of the Wild. And since Tears of the Kingdom has come out, people are like, "Oh, so it must be Tears of the Kingdom because it's like the upgraded version of Breath of the Wild." And I'm like, but there's something about that first time you step into that world that really makes it special. Like Tears of the Kingdom is special for all the upgrades, all the like the building stuff, the way they expanded to the skies and then also the depths. But there's something about when you first step out of that cave in Breath of the Wild and you just have this world that you've not seen before that's just ready for you to explore, and like you explore it, and it is that perfect gameplay loop of finding something every few steps that excites you. That I think still has Breath of the Wild claiming that spot, even though Tears of the Kingdom might technically be a better game.
Yeah, it's just, you're right. I mean, you can never forget that first experience you had. It's like your favorite author. Like the first book you read by them will probably be your favorite for a long time because it's so different than anything else you ever read. But then it's really hard to be so different again from themselves.
Yeah.
Well,
enough about all that. Let's talk about today's stories, which include Day of the Devs Goes Non-Profit, Persona 3 Reload reviews are here, and more, because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy news you need to know about live on YouTube, Twitch, and podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, please support us with the Kinda Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. For a chance to be a part of the show, submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube super chats as we go. Housekeeping for you. Our Persona 3 Reload review is up right now as a PS I Love You XOXO. That's over on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames. A new Kinda Funny podcast is up all about the Super Bowl. That's up over on youtube.com/KindaFunny. Thank you to our Patreon producer, Delaney Twining. Today brought to you by the Kinda Funny membership, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is, and forever will be, the Roper Report. It's time for some news. We have 7 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
Listen, if you think that's crazy, wait for the smoke machines. Like the smoke machines is what usually catches guests off guard. Let's start off with story number 1. Day of the Devs is now 100% non-profit. For this story, we're going to invite on Greg Rice, who's the lead curator of Day of the Devs, to hang out with us. I'm going to read from a couple of tweets.
I like that microphone.
That the Day of the Devs account put out on Twitter saying, Day of the Devs is now 100% independent, non-profit property. Our mission has always been to help. We didn't cover how tall Greg is.
Yeah. You should be in the chair. I should be standing.
This actually works.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Our mission is always, this is hilarious. You're on your knees and you're the same height. You're still taller than me on the
camera. You should have thought about this. You invited the tallest guy in games on and didn't give me a chair.
Our mission has always been to help independent developers connect with their communities. Going nonprofit will help us do that. But to make it work, we're going to need your help. And then you guys point to a link. Your support and generosity will help us pay for future events, staff, food, video production, and more. We have big plans for 2024 and beyond, and we want to keep Day of the Devs free for everyone. Please consider donating, and there are rewards. Greg, I'm going to throw to you. We talked about a little bit about Day of the Devs at the top of the show, but for you as lead curator, how would you describe Day of the Devs?
It's a party. Well, it started as a party. It's kind of grown into something else, but we've been doing this for over a decade now, and just wanted to throw a cool, fun event showing off the most interesting, kind of innovative games that we can find, and it's just really grown over the years. Now we've got showcases, so there's digital streams which people might have seen and maybe are more familiar with, but still throwing parties here in San Francisco, now also LA, and just trying to spread the word on awesome indie games.
Yeah. I believe after Summer Game Fest, I feel like in the last couple of years, you've had a Day of the Devs stream that people will probably recognize.
Yeah, that was a big one. I mean, when you put yourself behind Keeley, you're going to get views, right?
Yeah.
So we had over 1 million people watch that first one, and now we've done them for the Game Awards as well. And those are really grown. I think they've helped just get us exposure, and hopefully that turns out meaning more people show up in person as well.
So what does going nonprofit mean for you guys? Like, how does that change things from the inside, but then also for what the audience can expect out of it?
I think it's kind of just making official the way we've always behaved. Like we've always, Day of the Devs was seen as something like platform agnostic, all about all kinds of games, a big diversity of games and games from underrepresented groups. And we're always putting that out there as like this is just a fun service. This isn't like a marketing driven show or any sort of like with any sort of business agenda, but we were still a business doing it. And so it felt like it was clarified everything to make it what it really is, which is it's not about profit. It's a beneficial organization that just wants to promote amazing video games and developers and do something for the fans. So being nonprofit means it's driven entirely by sponsorships and donations, including individual donations. Oh,
we got Greg.
You could hear his knees just bleeding on the floor. Oh, good. The tallest chair. The tallest chair that we have. But so now it's an official nonprofit and people can donate and they can get there's like swag they can get. I'm wearing the Day of the socks right now.
Oh, look and you're wearing Day of the shirt.
Pretend that you could just CG in a leg that is very more flexible than me. But anyway, Day of the socks and mugs.
Yeah, and we kind of always ran it as a nonprofit, so it's not like we're making money off of this. This was something we were volunteering our time for and just kind of putting out of goodwill. So it just allows us to be a lot more transparent with how we raise the money, and hopefully do even more this year if we can raise some.
You guys already have events planned or announced for this year?
Yeah, we announced that I think as part of the campaign too. So for GDC, we'll be doing a showcase both on the floor, which we've been doing for a while, but also our big main Midway show will be during GDC this year. So hopefully more people will be in town for that. It'll just mean bigger attendance.
Yeah, if you've ever come to Day of the Devs before in San Francisco, it's usually in November, early November, and now it's going to be in the springtime, the Sunday before.
Specifically March 17th, and it's free. So if you're around the Bay Area, show up and you can just come right in. And then there's a new one this year too, which is we're doing a small showcase at SF MoMA. So that'll be cool. We're going to take kind of the most artistic things from the lineup and show them on a big screen at MoMA.
Hell yeah.
In the museum where they belong.
That's awesome. Holy cow. So for you guys, for Day of the Devs, right? Like I talked about how, again, I went during Game Awards weekend, right? And it was such a cool time. I got to discover such cool games and have a blast. Also, shout out to the game, like the big, the AI, like, can you not get hit by an AI car? Or no, can you get hit by an AI car?
How to not get hit by a self-driving car.
Yeah, exactly, right? And like it was like this big thing outside that people would do, and like I have the video on my Instagram of me like trying to break dance to get to like the front of the thing. That's the kind of cool things that y'all do at Day of the Devs. How long has Day of the Devs been going? And like what I guess is like the continuing objective to like kind of keep you guys going with it?
I'm bad with past. I think 12 years. I can't remember maybe 11. So it's been a bit now.
Notice I'm as tall as you now. Did not work out.
And we've always had a mix of games music too has always been a big thing. The very first year we had Transistor soundtrack played live. So we've always tried to have things like that, hot new game soundtracks being played live. And also the alt control stuff has kind of been there from the start. But I think the goal is always to kind of shed light on games that are artistic, kind of pushing the medium forward, innovating in interesting ways, and really looking for games from emerging creators, underrepresented creators, and putting that at the forefront too.
And you mentioned Broken Age back then. That was one of the first things we wanted to share. That's a lot of it came from. Was like, we want to share Broken Age. What kind of show we want to share Broken Age at? Because it was a different kind of game. It was an adventure game, and like, what's the vibe that we want to have? And a lot of trade shows can be really bombastic. I remember just like hiding outside of E3 one year because like all the big platform booths were so loud and like really huge and expensive and trying to outdo each other with volume. And like we want to have a more chill vibe and but still a festival positive vibe and just and there's been some fan focused shows that sometimes there's been some negative vibes in some shows. We want none of that. We want to have just a really happy show for all ages. Like you can bring your kids and it's free. And it's like a celebration of the developers and the fans coming together. Because there's this really low bar, like there's no big booths. Everyone's booth is like the same. And you can walk right up and the developers are demoing their games and you can have a nice conversation and it's you can go outside and eat food and you can listen to music from the games that you like.
Yeah, there's an element there that people might not see behind the scenes too, which is we come from a development background. We put a lot of these booths together at events. We know the work that takes. So we try to put a lot of attention into really putting a spotlight on the devs and making it easy, fun time for them. So we handle all the setup. We handle all the hardware. They can just kind of come in and have a good time, enjoy the party.
Yeah. I got a two-part question. One, are there any Day of the Devs success stories that that you hold near and dear, that you like, that you care to share? And then also, are there any games that have been shown at Day of the Devs throughout the years where you're like, oh man, this is like a top one for me that you want to shout out?
Yeah, I mean, the bundle is a good place for that. So the bundle, I think, that we're putting together, I think if you donate $100 in the tier, you get something like 30 games. And those are games that have all shown at Day of the Devs throughout the year. A lot of them are actually from the very first show, which is cool, like Broken Age and Mercenary Kings and Super Time Force. I think the one I think about a lot is I think we were the first place that showed Untitled Goose Game. So that was one that's really excited for me. It was nice to have that on the floor.
I think John said that's why they had to pick that name, because the show was coming up and they didn't have a title yet. And they're like, well.
Yeah. And it's not just independent games, too. We try to show games that just we think have an artistic eye, too. So we've had games like Kingdom Hearts 3 in the past, too, and you have to kind of handle a special line set for those because they bring a lot of a crowd. But yeah, it's nice to see the variety that's on display there.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Well, Greg, thank you so much for coming through.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for sharing about Day of the Devs. Very excited for GDC.
Yes, we'll see you there.
All right.
Have a good one.
Thanks for coming. Look at that. We can all readjust our cameras.
There you go. We're just going to leave.
See, now we look tall again. Yeah, could be the Greg Memorial chair.
Yeah, were you this short before? I feel like you can adjust your chair.
I went up to match. We should be exactly the same. No.
There we go. I guess I underestimate how short I am. Okay, so that looks good. That looks good.
We look good.
Moving on to story number 2, we got a Persona 3 Reload review roundup for you. Right now on Metacritic, it is sitting at an 89. On OpenCritic, it's sitting at a 90. We're going to start off with Michael Hyam, my roommate, at IGN, who gave it a 9 out of 10 and said, a stellar visual overhaul and countless small changes and additions beyond it leave a significant impact, making Persona 3 Reload a more fully realized version of a beloved RPG. Although still dated in some respects, quality of life improvements and new features refresh its exciting turn-based combat and add depth to its touching story moments. Through an incredible new voice cast that embodies these unforgettable characters and an endearing soundtrack to reforge its identity, Persona 3 Reload tells a powerful, timeless story of tragedy and hope with sharp emotional sincerity. This is the kind of remake I've hoped for, and even after spending 70 hours to see it all the way through to its conclusion, I still find it hard to believe it's real. Jess Cogswell over at GameSpot gave it a 9 out of 10 and says, simply put, Reload is the greatest way to experience Persona 3's story, and Persona 3's story is one well worth experiencing. While it might not be the definitive edition or even a remake in the same vein as something like Persona 5 Royal, it contains enough changes and upgrades to make it an extremely worthwhile play for repeat players and newcomers alike. And then Con Saren at Eurogamer gave it a 4 out of 5 and says, Reload adds welcome modernizations to the wonderfully deadly coming-of-age story that captured hearts in 2006, though visual tweaks undermine the thematic coherence. Tim, I heard before the show that you're a big Persona fan.
I do love Persona. I've only played 5. I'm a big Persona 5 fan. I'm looking forward to playing 3 after hearing all these reviews. But I love the balance. I love when RPGs do that balance of big powers and spectacle, and then everyday life. You know, like you have to, I gotta get a gift for this person I'm trying to be friends with.
Yeah.
I gotta figure out what kind of things they might want. And then you're in high school and worry about high school stuff. But then also, and I have to fight these giant psychological manifestations of people's traumas. So it's very much like Psychonauts in a strange way. The games Persona and Psychonauts both go into mental worlds, and both deal with things that are essentially metaphors for people's emotional traumas.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that balance is what I was talking about in our review that went up this morning when me, Barrett, and Joey were recording and talking about our impressions. There is a balance to Persona that is so clean and is so engaging, and it's quite wild how well they pull it off, right? Between all the Persona games that I played, because now at this point I've played and finished Persona 4 Golden, which is one of my favorite games ever. Played and finished Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, and I am about 30 hours into Persona 3 Reload. And in all of them, that balance of hanging out, doing like the life sim stuff, right? Picking which person I want to, do my social link with, and then, go and study and then figure out like, all right, I'm going to work here tonight so I can upgrade my confidence and my charm. But then also I need to make money at the same time. Like balancing all that stuff, but then the other half of it of going in and doing the dungeon crawling and having to either confront your own self or like invade somebody's mind in Persona 5. It is wild how, very different those gameplay elements are, but how well they bring them together and make it actually flow and make it actually work. And so far, I am loving Persona 3. I still feel, even though I'm 30 hours in, like I'm early enough to where I've still not gotten to like the meat of the story, which is kind of wild to say after 30 hours in, but I'm still having a blast. Like I can tell that the best is yet to come, but I'm still having a fun time because the gameplay loop is just still so fun.
Okay, so you can be my guide to future Persona explorations. You guys should go back and play 3 after playing 5.
Oh yeah, I think 3 Reload for sure. 3
is that the best one? 3?
I think it depends on who you ask.
Controversial.
Yeah, I know. Like, I've quite a few people on Twitter already, like who have gotten to play 3 Reload or played 3 in the past. I've seen quite a few people talk about how 3 is the best one, but also I know enough people, namely me, that will tell you that 4 Golden is their favorite. But also I know plenty. I think Barrett is like a Persona 5 Royal person.
Tim, you can check out my every Persona game ranked video over
Oh,
on YouTube.com.
makes it simple.
Games. There
So you
go.
played 5 and then you played 5 Royal.
Yeah,
Each one, all the way through.
Yep.
Because there's enough new stuff in Royal. Okay.
yeah. It was also, I think, I mean, I'm not as big of a Persona sicko as Barrett, because Barrett has played 5 like 4 times, 3 times.
More.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Barrett's played Persona 5 more times than I think anybody needs to play Persona 5. I played 5.
That's a long game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Persona
Good
sickos,
game,
you
though.
know.
Are you playing it right now?
No,
I think it's off screen. You're playing it right now.
Oh God.
Yes, I don't know.
He caught me.
The thing is, he just finished playing Persona 3 Reload. He put in like 90 something hours into that. Whereas for me, coming off of Persona 5, I mean, I really loved my time with Persona 5, but then 3 years had passed until they put out Royal, and at that time I was like, okay, I'm kind of craving it again. Like I kind of want to jump back into this world, and so like it hit for me in that way. And now we're in 2024. And I'm craving it again. Like I kind of want to jump back into that type of world. I think what helps is that there's not many other games like Persona. Like you have plenty of other RPGs, obviously, and plenty of other dungeon crawlers and stuff. And then also on the other hand, you have a lot of life sims and you have a lot of dating sims and a lot of that type of stuff. But Persona brings it together in such a rare way that I'm surprised to not see way more studios try to like copy and figure out how to do that exact thing. But I think it's just because it's difficult. I think not everybody can pull that off. But yeah, like I'm having such a blast going back to Persona 3, but I don't know if I would say yet that I think it's the best one because I'm still early, but I will say that I am having a blast and I could see it growing into that potential for me. Like I'm enjoying where the story is so far.
Yeah.
And I can tell that they're planting seeds for big twists and turns and stuff to happen. I just met a really cool character the other day that's like, oh snap, okay, what's their deal? Like they seem really interesting. And so it's that, plus if you're coming off of Persona 5, one of the biggest compliments and maybe like little critiques you can throw at it is that they took so many of the Persona 5 elements, like the visual elements, the modernization, the flow of combat, all that stuff. If you really liked how Persona 5 looked and feels to play,
They brought it back.
Yeah. Like that is how Persona 3 plays now with Reload. And I think a lot of that stuff works. I think there's some of it where it's like, oh man, this might be too Persona 5 in some instances, but
I wouldn't know.
yeah, I think overall it works. I think overall it hits.
Cool. It'll make me feel comfortable. I'll just play them in the order that they remaster them.
There you go. I'm of the mind, Barrett. I don't know what you think about this. I think eventually they're gonna have to remake 4.
I don't think we get that for a long time.
Define a long time.
Like another decade.
Another decade.
They're watching to see how many times he's played it. As soon as he's played it 8 times, they'll remaster it.
Yeah. Let me play Persona 4 Golden like at least 10 times, and then they'll get to a remake of Persona 4 Golden.
I think if I had to guess,
I just know that they from the rumor mill and all that stuff. It sounds like they're focused a bit more on the future right now. So
yeah.
Just keep in mind, I'm the person you told you didn't have time to play Psychonauts 2 yet, and you played Persona 10 times.
No,
No, Barrett is the one who did play Psychonauts.
Psychonauts
who's
2
not
was
played
my game
Psychonauts.
of the year in 2021. I was trying to convince everybody else.
Oh, I was thinking of another person back
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
You're thinking of
Okay.
me probably. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm the one who still hasn't played
People
it.
get us mixed up all
I just enough time
They
had gone by
do.
before someone had mentioned Psychonauts 2. I just had to bring it up again. Psychonauts 2.
There you go. So you're gonna play Reload?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about what the next big thing is I'll get into. I'm going to get into Alan Wake probably, and then
Nice.
but go back into Tears of the Kingdom. Like in between, I'm putting off finishing. I've never actually played the final. I always put off Ganon for a long time.
Yeah.
The final battle.
I was
So,
saying, what is gaming like for you nowadays? Is it the thing of you're involved so much in games during your work that you come home and it's like, let me just rest. Let me read a book.
No, this is the funny thing about being on a show like this, that you all are games professionals in a different way than I am. Like I'm so into the game I'm making. Usually I get so heads down into it that but you all have to know about everything really broad, like every single game that's going on. You got to you get into and figure out. And so it's maybe a little more focused, but I think if you're making games, you can. It's really easy. You talk to people who are maybe a little older, have kids in the games industry. Like I don't even have time to play games now. They'll say, but I feel like that's really dangerous because if you stop playing games, I think it shows. I mean, because when I'm playing games, I just have so many ideas for things like, oh, that's cool, but I want to do something different. I want to put that in my game. I mean, you'll have other ideas while you're playing the games, and it's really important to find some time. It's just It's harder if you want to go to sleep at a different time. I think when you're younger, you're like, well, I'll just play games from 10 to 3 in the morning, and that'll be my gaming time. But
So currently you're playing Tears, and it sounds like you're gonna bounce between that and Alan Wake. Is there any other games that you're jumping into?
In and out of everything, trying out new things like Baldur's Gate 3 or Patrick's Parabox.
Hell yeah, I love
yeah.
Patrick's Parabox.
Yeah. I love puzzle games. I went back and played the old Fire and Ice on the NES, on the Switch. They played the old NES games. So there's a cube pushing like ice and fire game that was really I do like puzzle games.
Have you ever played Manifold Garden?
I know what that is. And was that ever? No, Greg's gone. Was that in Day of the Devs? Anyway, I haven't played it yet.
Okay, that's one that I would recommend if you're a
yeah.
big puzzle game person, especially if you like the first person, like trippy perspective, like Portal inspired type stuff. I think Manifold Garden is great for that. Also, what was the one that came out last year with the photographs, Barrett?
Yeah, that got a lot of like attention. Photograph? No.
This is the one where you take.
Something?
It was like a perspective type puzzle
Yeah.
game.
Viewfinder. Thank you,
There you
chat.
go.
Okay.
Yeah, Viewfinder. If you like those kind of games too, I would say Viewfinder is probably worth checking out. We do have a YouTube super chat written in from Logan Jensen, who writes in and says, Tim, I'm an indie developer with a team of 3, and you're a huge inspiration for me and the team. I don't shut up about Full Throttle.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Keep talking about Full Throttle.
There you go.
We remastered that game.
Yeah, that's to the point of like I feel like everybody has a Double Fine game that like they identify with. Because yeah, there's that. There's was Double Fine Brutal Legend?
Yeah.
I forget what I was doing the other day where I saw a lot of people showing love for Brutal Legend. But yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, I mean, we have been around for 23 years. Yeah, but that's great that they love a Full Throttle. And good luck with your indie game. We should submit it to Day of the Devs.
There you go.
Go to dayofthedevs.com and submit the games.
Go to dayofthedevs.com.
Yeah.
You know where else you should go? Patreon.com/kindafunny. Over on patreon.com/kindafunny, you can go and get the show ad free. And speaking of ads, let us tell you about our sponsors.
Kinda Funny turns 9 years old today. We could have made it 9 days without your support. That's why 2024 is all about doubling down on our shows and making it simpler than ever for you to get the most out of our content. Our revamped Kinda Funny membership is your one-stop shop for all our amazing content, which now includes on a weekly basis the Kinda Funny podcast, In Review, the Kinda Funny Games Cast, P.S. I Love You XOXO, the Kinda Funny X-Cast, the brand new series Kinda Funny Game Showdown. 5 episodes of Kinda Funny Games Daily, and 5 exclusive Gregway vlogs.
And 5 days of streaming fun with me and the gang here in our newly revamped streaming space. It's going to be filled with a ton of laughter and a whole lot of shenanigans. We'll see you there.
That's more than 20 pieces of content a week from an 11-person independent team in San Francisco. That's a lot. And to get the most out of it, all we're asking for is $10. $10 gets you the Kinda Funny membership, and that entitles you to ad-free versions of the shows, the ability to watch the podcast live as we record them, and the exclusive access to my daily show, Gregway. You can get your Kinda Funny membership on patreon.com/kindafunny or youtube.com/kindafunnygames. Yes, we are expanding our Kinda Funny membership offering to YouTube so people can take full advantage of the platform they prefer. If you want to go above and beyond the Kinda Funny membership to support us, we will still have higher Patreon tiers, albeit with some changed up perks. We just wanted to make the message as clear as possible that the $10 Kinda Funny membership is for the masses to get all the core content people love. Everything above that is very appreciated. The support means the world to us. You all are the best. But the $10 Kinda Funny membership available on both patreon.com/kindafunny and youtube.com/kindafunnygames is where we see the value of what we do. Kinda Funny is a dream come true, and we wouldn't have it without you. We hope if you've ever enjoyed the content, you can support us for at least a month as we prepare for our biggest year ever. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.
And we're back. With story number 3, Celeste 64 has been announced and released. This is Wesley LeBlanc at Game Informer.
That's great.
Yeah, really cool. Did you see
love
this last
Celeste.
night?
I know this. I'm finding out this live. On the
yeah.
show. This is good news.
Maddie Makes Games is celebrating Celeste's 6th anniversary with its most ambitious reimagining of the cult favorite platformer yet. Celeste 64, Fragments of the Mountain, which you can play right now on itch.io, imagines a fully 3D version of the cult favorite platformer for the N64, complete with squat polygonal graphics and unique traversal challenges. The game's description reads, quote, "Relive the magic of Celeste Mountain alongside Madeline in this small, heartfelt 3D platformer, created in a week-ish by the Celeste team to celebrate the game's 6th anniversary," end quote. Despite being developed in a short amount of time, Celeste 64 packs a surprising amount of content, including bonus stages with music reminiscent of Super Mario Sunshine. It also includes dialogue that takes place after the original game, marking it as a little bit of a sequel. I saw this as it was happening last night. I saw the tweet from, I think it was Maddie Makes Games. It might have been from Lena Rain, the composer. But I saw Celeste 64 and then the itch.io link, and I was like, what? What's going on here? And I didn't look up anything else. I immediately clicked the itch.io link, downloaded it, and booted up the game to see. And as soon as I booted up, what you're seeing on screen here, right? The 3D platformer version of Celeste.
Mm-hmm.
I booted up and I was like, oh, they just put out a cool little game, a cool little celebration of the anniversary. I believe it's probably an hour to 2 hours to complete, depending on your skill level. But it's really neat.
Yeah, I'm excited. I love the way it looks, and I love that era,
Yeah.
But I also love Celeste a lot. I also, when Celeste first came out, there's a lot of games around that time that were like, this game's really hard. Oh, it's so super punishing and super hard. And I never really was drawn to that because I'm not the most fast reflex player in general. I like adventure games and things that you can, take your time with. But Celeste is one of those games that seems really hard at first, but then you feel your brain adapting into it, and all of a sudden you're going through something that seemed impossible before, and you're dashing around, and you feel like you've learned this weird ballet skill or something, and you feel like there's this elegance to it that you're like, oh my gosh, like a room that you die a million times on, but you do the first part again, but you're doing it really well, and you're like, how did I learn how to do this?
Yeah, I think there's such a elegance and balance to creating a game that's difficult, but it teaches the player how to adapt to its difficulty, and I think Celeste does that probably better than most games. The fact that there are really advanced mechanics in Celeste of if you hold up at this part of the jump, then you'll launch yourself and do all this shit that I still can't even do, but the game gives you the option to do those levels if you want and hopefully learn and get better and do all that stuff. I think there's a balance there that is incredible, and it brings me back to I am the kind of player that likes to do difficult stuff mechanically. I really like fighting games. I've been playing a lot of Tekken 8 in the last couple of weeks. And yesterday, I was just in the practice mode, learning the 10-hit combo for the character Victor. And I got it in a few minutes, and I was like, oh man, that's such a satisfying feeling. I love that. But at the same time, not every game tackles it in that way where it it presents itself as inviting for that, right? I look at games like Elden Ring or Sekiro, and those are difficult games. Those games, though, you gotta have to be ready. You gotta have to be the kind of person that is willing to grapple with dying and pushing through and doing all that stuff. And I think that stuff is good for those kind of players, right? I think that stuff hits if you're that type of player. But everybody has a different place where they're at in terms of that type of experience. So having a game like Celeste that goes, hey, this is difficult, but we're gonna encourage you. We're going to give you little objectives and give you an assist mode if you need the assist mode, but then also have the notes that are don't give up, keep pushing.
Yeah.
I think that stuff goes a long way into getting people into it.
Totally. I remember the first time I was bouncing off a Souls game, I needed someone to come. You needed kind of a guide with those games. You need a friend who's it's not as hard, it's not as bad as you think.
Yeah.
Listen, just dodge. Look at sometimes you need a guide to kind of help you through, and then you start to get into it and liking it. And Celeste, it's its own guide, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Moving on to story number 4. Universal has shown the first images of Super Nintendo World Orlando. This is Chris Scullion at Video Games Chronicle. The first images of the Orlando version of Super Nintendo World have been shared, as posted on the official Nintendo of America Twitter account and shared in a YouTube video posted by Universal. The images show the park's entrance at the Universal Epic Universe Resort. Universal Epic Universe is an entirely new theme park set to open in summer 2025 and will be the 4th theme park at Universal Orlando, along with Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, and Volcano Bay. Epic Universe will consist of 5 separate themed worlds, one of which is Super Nintendo World. Based on the concept photos and Murphy's comments, the Orlando version of Super Nintendo World looks set to include the extra Donkey Kong area on the day it opens. The first version of Super Nintendo World opened in Universal Studios Japan in March 2021, with a second version opening at Universal Studios Hollywood in February 2023. Another is planned for Universal Studios Singapore. Tim, are you a theme park person? Does this excite you?
I do love theme parks. Any place that transports you out of the everyday world. I love Disneyland. I have not been to that Universal. I've been to Universal, but I've not been to the Mario World. Have you been there?
No, I've not been there either.
Yeah,
I really
want
to go.
It looks cool, but now this one looks bigger, like everything in Florida. But I've never been to Florida.
You never
I've never been to Florida.
Period.
I've never been to Disney World.
Disney. I went to Disney World when I was 8 years old, and I don't remember much about it. And so I want to go back again. And I think this would be the occasion to bring me back. Like I would be so down to visit Super Nintendo World, especially if they have the Donkey Kong stuff there, because I love Donkey Kong. But yeah, like I just the idea of going to Super Nintendo World. Yeah. Period excites me. Like I want to go down to the one that's in LA area because like I went to Disneyland for the first time recently and I had such a blast. Yeah. Like it was such a good time. That and then the like Marvel world that they have in the other park that's right next to Disneyland.
California Adventure.
Yeah, California Adventure. Like that I had such a good time going, especially this last year when I went with a bunch of friends. And so yeah, I'm totally down for this. I'm super excited for this. I'm also excited to see the ways in which they expand this stuff. Me and other Tim, Tim Geddes on our team. Our Tim, yeah. We talked about, it seems like they could be working on a Zelda thing because they had Aonuma in like a construction outfit the other day that posted on Twitter. And like, I love the idea of that. I love, like you said, right? Like going somewhere that's going to take me out of the reality that I'm in and transport me somewhere else. And like Nintendo doing that is my version of that, right? Like I like Disney. I grew up with Disney, right? But like I love Nintendo. And so if you give me a Nintendo world to get lost in and do all this stuff in, like sign me up.
Totally. And yeah, I would love to go there. And I'm a sucker for anything that takes you out, like theme restaurants, tiki bars. I think it's all the same thing of like, I want to leave the everyday world and I want to go to a magical place, and having that be Mario would be a special one, but I would love to go. If
you can make a theme park using a Double Fine IP or game,
oh man,
which one would you choose?
I mean, that would be like the world of heavy metal from Brutal Legend would be fun to be in.
That'd be sick.
And you could all have different factions. People could, we should probably get on that.
I'm biased towards Broken Age because like that's the one that I played and loved. But like also I think the space crossing into like kind of fantasy, like I think you could do really cool things just with the set, with like the world design of a Broken Age theme park. I know Barrett would love.
I would love to do any of them, but Brutal Legend is just the biggest world I think we made. Biggest cohesive like designed world.
Barrett, what's up?
Big teeth slide. There you go. Just an idea.
Big teeth? You say teeth?
Yeah.
Oh god, they said teats.
Oh,
big teeth slide.
Big teeth slide.
Yeah.
That sounds dangerous, but also compelling.
Yeah.
I guess Psychonauts has a lot you can do with that stuff with the different worlds.
Yeah, I mean, just one brain after another.
Bringing in a couple of super chats here. Irish Nexus says Marvel Snap new card Beta Ray Bill is out today. And then Nathan Glancy says Tim just had to shout out Manic Mansion. It was the first video game I ever played, and I had a copy of it on an old MS DOS computer that was my cousin's. There you go.
That's awesome. That's one of the first work I ever did in the games industry was just pushing objects around for the Nintendo port of Maniac Mansion. Ron already made Maniac Mansion when I got there, but then they made the NES version of it. And anyway, I was ooh, making games is fun.
Super cool. Story number 5, a group of former Volition staff have formed a new studio. This is Chris Scullion at Video Games Chronicle. A new studio has been formed by a group of former Volition developers, including the creative director of the Saints Row reboot. Shapeshifter Games is based in Illinois and is positioning itself as a co-development studio, which will help other studios with AAA game development. Founded by veteran developers from Volition, Shapeshifter Games was created to partner with world-class developers and publishers on the creation of AAA games, the company description reads on LinkedIn, as spotted by TechRaptor. Quote, Shapeshifter draws upon deep experience in open world and character action games earned while working on some of the industry's most beloved franchises, end quote. Game development will be led by studio director Rob Loftus, who was the principal producer on Saints Row. Quote, it's been 5 months since the closure of Volition, but I'm grateful to post that a group of us have reformed as Shapeshifter Games, Loftus posted on LinkedIn. Quote, the industry climate remains tough, and I know I'm fortunate to reconnect with colleagues and turn the page on a new adventure. I'm hopeful for more groups like us and for the brighter days ahead, end quote. Tim, of course, there's been like a lot of sad/bad news stories in the last year about layoffs and studio closures and all that. This is a little bit of a light in the tunnel where it is, hey, Volition closed, but some of us who worked at Volition are creating a new studio, and we're going to partner with other studios to help work on their games.
Yeah, I was shocked when I heard about Volition because I was just, what? I thought they seemed very successful, making great games, and It is nice to see. It's interesting to see what will happen there because Illinois. That's the only studio. And Volition is the only studio I was aware of in that area, like Illinois area.
Yeah.
And so when you have a lot of people that maybe have moved there for work, and then the studio closes, how many will there be a bunch of studios that pop up in Illinois? I wonder. That'd be great. That'd be great to hear from anyone from Volition. That'd be nice to see.
So so Volition, right, was located in Champaign, Illinois, which is where I grew up, and that's where I'm originally from. And like when you talk about Illinois game studios, I think the only other ones that you can think of are like in Chicago area, and like I can only think of a couple. There's
in the old like Midway and everything. Like
Midway
huge game center in Chicago,
which I think turned into NetherRealm, right? And so I think NetherRealm might be Chicago based, and then. What was the Bear? You remember the wrestling battle royale that came out a couple years ago?
Oh, I was going to say WrestleQuest, but that's the RPG.
You're right. That's the RPG.
That's the RPG that came out.
But that studio, I think, is also in Illinois. Rumbleverse.
Thank you once again, chat.
But chat, correct me if I'm wrong. Jackbox team is also in Chicago as well. Iron Galaxy is what I was thinking of. I think they might be Chicago based, but correct me if I'm wrong. Either way. When you're talking about Central Illinois, where that's where Champaign is, there's nothing around. Like Champaign is 2 hours away from Chicago. If you were working at Volition and your studio closed, right? Like it's not easy to just pick up and move to Chicago and then try to find a spot at one of these few other game studios that are there, right? Like I think the idea of starting your own thing and hopefully having it be a AAA studio that's going to work with other developers, which I think I would assume is more of a secure thing than maybe starting up your own game and trying to launch a new IP or work to work on another IP or whatever. I think trying to support other AAA devs, I think it might be an easier task to tackle, or at least like a more secure task to tackle. I like that they're doing this. I like that they're giving it a shot, and I'm hoping that this provides them the security to go, all right, cool, we're able to stay in our area of Illinois, or if they're staying in Champaign, right, Central Illinois.
Yeah, because they probably moved a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's like, is that all? Because one of the saddest things in games is when a group comes together, like 300 people come together and learn to work together, and get really good. Because you got to go through a lot of stuff to like learn how to be a team, and then to have all that knowledge lost when they go to the four winds, when they like disperse. So if this startup is holding some of that team together, this team that knows they like working together, that's such a hopeful sign, I think.
Yeah. And it's even like you look at a lot of the other layoffs that are happening, right? And like there's been a wave in the industry, and a lot of these studios are based in LA or SF or in places that are these cities that are expensive to be in. And when you get laid off at one studio, it is all right. Maybe I'll look towards other studios. But when everybody's having layoffs, then it becomes a problem because it is a lot of people just aren't hiring, right? And a lot of places are having hiring freezes because money's getting tight, and that's not like those opportunities don't become as available. And so to go, all right, this group in Illinois, we're gonna make another studio, we're gonna work on this thing, and we're gonna try to make this work. I think that's a good step, and I'm wishing them success because I'm always rooting for Volition because I like Red Faction, and also I like Saints Row, and I just I've had friends that worked there growing up, right? And so I'm always rooting for that team.
Don't forget about Descent, the old Descent guys.
Shout out to Descent. Also Summoner. I never played Summoner, but I think Yusuf loves Summoner, and so shout out to Summoner. Story number 6. Spec Ops: The Line has been removed from Steam. This is Chris Scullion at Video Games Chronicle. Spec Ops: The Line has been delisted from Steam without warning. As noticed by Reddit user Lurking Danger 22, the game was seemingly pulled from the store on Monday. Players visiting the game's Steam page are now greeted with a message saying Spec Ops: The Line is no longer available on the Steam store. It's not clear yet why the game has been delisted, but other Reddit users have speculated that it may be due to the use of licensed music. The game features music from the likes of Jimi Hendrix, Mogwai, Deep Purple, Alice in Chains, and Bjork. Bjork? Bear, how do I say it? B-J-O-R-K.
Bjork.
Bjork?
Bjork.
Bjork.
Yeah.
Bjork.
Nailed
It's possible.
Bjork.
Bjork?
Bjork.
Bjork.
Kids.
It's possible, therefore, that the license to use one or some of these tracks has expired, leaving 2K with the decision to either delist the game or temporarily remove it while it renews the licenses. Spec Ops: The Line. The name I've not heard in a while. I feel like.
I mean, just hearing about music licensing makes me have, flashbacks to Brutal Legend. I mean, that stuff is very tricky. And one person in the band can cause trouble if they're like, I didn't sign that, So
Yeah.
who knows? I don't know. I don't want to speculate on what happened there. But music licensing, a lot of things where you're like, where'd my favorite movie go? Why'd that show? Why is that different? Like a lot of it is, they have really strict rules about that.
Yeah, and we've had stories in the past that are. Well, I think GTA 4 was one where like they lost the license and so it was gone for a second, but then came back because they figured out the licensing situation. Like I think this type of stuff happens. I hope they're able to get it back on the store. I know Spec Ops: The Line is a game that it's a game that I think strikes a lot of interesting conversation. I remember when it came out and it felt like everybody had to write a thing about it because it was a game that had a lot of interesting things to say. I never got around to playing it. But like there are so many podcasts I listened to and people in the discussions that I heard that had me like, oh shit, okay, it sounds like this game is doing something different and interesting, at least for the time that it came out. And so I feel like something like that should be accessible, right? I think something like that should be, something that people should be able to play whenever to get that, almost like the piece of history of it. I think
Was that the Spec Ops that got into the weird moral question story where you're doing bad things?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. And so, I think
I do
something like
remember
this
that
should be
when it came
available.
out, yeah.
But hopefully they're able to figure it out. Tim, there's a lot of big news that we just talked about. But if I wanted something smaller, say the tiniest news I needed to know about, where would I look?
Well, I think you'd go to our last story, the Wii News channel, where we cover all the small news items you need to know about.
There it is.
Perfect.
Story number 7.
Woo!
It's time for Wii News. Xbox has confirmed to Eurogamer that Visions of Mana will in fact not be coming to Xbox Game Pass. Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League Digital Deluxe Edition is out today for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. Death Stranding Director's Cut hits Apple devices today. Destiny 2 and BioWare are crossing over on February 13th. And then Dragon Quest Builders is coming to Steam on February 13th. And that's it for Wii News. Tim,
I thought that was going to be all about the Wii. I thought that was going to be about...
No, it's like a little thing we do.
It's WEE. It's legally distinct.
Yeah, we have
It's
nothing
legally
to do.
distinct.
It has nothing to do with Nintendo.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely
Even though we play
nothing.
the exact...
No,
Yeah, we didn't
I don't know
change
what
the
that
music.
I don't know
How
what
do you get that
music's
music?
from.
That
I don't know.
sounds a lot
yeah.
like, but not exactly like something I've heard before.
I don't know. I was
it-
just sent a file and I was told to play it.
I think you were sent a YouTube link to an extended version of a song that exists.
It makes me happy, whatever it is.
Is Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League? Is that something that you're gonna check out? That's like the hot news of the hot game that's dropping right
It's not the next thing. It's not the next thing I would check
now.
out.
No,
I'm
you're
not-
all in on Persona 3.
That's what I'm always scared of coming over here and talking to Greg, is that he'll bring up DC Comics. And I'll be like, I don't know anything about...
I said I'm with you. I'm tired of these. I'm tired of people trying to push DC Comics on us. They tried, they failed.
I can generate interest for Ghostbusters and fake it for wrestling, but not DC Comics.
God, you're just like me. I feel that. I'm over here. I'm like, all right, cool. I guess CM Punk is back. All right, man. Anyway,
Are you going to play?
up until now, it's been not a hard no, but I've been like, I'm just not interested. You know, like I'm like the idea of the Suicide Squad. I like the latest couple of Suicide Squad movies,
James Gunn ones.
like the James Gunn one, and then Birds of Prey before that, which I know actually isn't Suicide Squad, but it had Harley Quinn. But like that stuff I liked, but just the idea of Suicide Squad in general doesn't excite me, and I'm not a DC person like that, even though I watched a lot of Arrow and a lot of Flash. I liked a lot of the CW stuff, but it's not enough to bring me in on its own. And then it being more of a multiplayer live service type thing also didn't appeal to me. And then I saw the gameplay reveal like last year with the state of play, and none of it really spoke to me in a big way that had me excited. That said, now that the game is playable for if you had like the early version, like the Ultimate Edition, I've been seeing some things online of people being like, oh man, the story's actually pretty good. And I'm like, ooh, should I check this thing out? And people being like, oh yeah. Like I think Jordan Midler was the one who tweeted out, you know, it is essentially like the Division 2, but DC Comics, and the writing and story is actually not that bad. And I'm like, oh, I could maybe be into that.
Yeah.
And so we'll see.
After you replay all the Persona games.
After I replay all the
Yeah,
Persona
yeah.
games and get to the top rank of Tekken 8, and probably by that time I'm gonna be playing Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth anyway, so I'll have to finish that.
Hey,
And then
release
you'll
games-
finally play Psychonauts 2, right?
And then
And then I gotta play Psychonauts
Let's bump
2.
that up to the top.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
not
I'll
that
replay
bad.
Broken
It's not
Age.
that
You
bad.
know,
Yeah. Ooh, I got. Once you know those puzzles, it's not that. Speedrun it.
speedrun Broken Age.
Yeah.
Do people speedrun adventure games?
I mean, they seem like the kind of games you could speedrun because once you know what to do, they're really
It is
fast.
just like a lot of clicking.
yeah. It's just a lot of clicking. That's all I've produced in my life.
Do you? And you don't have to answer this question because this might be like too you might be in the secretive mode. Do you have interest of going back and making more adventure games like the point and click style stuff?
Maybe. I mean, I really just I kind of whatever ideas come into your head, you start to get obsessed about and do it. So I can't really like when people talk about what you want to do in the future, I'm like, I don't know. It's really dependent on what kind of ideas come into my head.
Yeah.
But I definitely made Psychonauts 2 because I was like, what games do I want? I wish there were more of in the world, and that was like I would like to play games like Psychonauts 2 all the time that were like, had some platforming, had a lot of story and humor and stuff like that. So I like the movement of platformer games. I like I was talking about Celeste. There's something that you learn something and then pretty soon you feel graceful, like you feel like you're doing, or like you're playing Tekken. Like once you can do that 10-hit combo, you feel like you're this athlete.
Yeah,
and you are an athlete, like because you learned a physical thing that you couldn't do before. So I like integrating that in with story and jokes and all the stuff that we like to do.
I asked because Broken Age, like as a modern adventure game, like point and click style, like that's not a thing we get all the time. Like we had the most recent Monkey Island game that came out like a year or so ago. Disco Elysium, even though I almost put that more as like a CRPG style thing, like a Baldur's Gate 3. But yeah, I think it's like I feel like it
has some elements, has a feel that vibe a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't get as much of that, and I think there is space for that. But also there is it is archaic. I don't know if that's the right word, but I think it's a genre that could use a lot of like modernization or a lot of, I guess, modern takes on it, right? Because when I think of classic point and click adventures, I think of staring at my computer and clicking on everything because I can't figure out what needs to interact with what. And so now I'm trying to combine bread with like a clock on the wall to see if that opens up my next path. And I even remember playing Broken Age and like having to look up a guide to be like, all right, what am I missing here? And then when I figure out, I'm like, oh, okay, no, that makes sense. But yeah, like I would love to see what people in 2024 do with the genre, right? Looking back and trying to identify how are ways that we can modernize this and figure out how to make it speak to an audience today.
I'm not saying you couldn't do it. The challenge of it, fitting it in the modern age, is not the tech or anything. It's that when I was playing Zork as a kid, I love text adventures. Bjork? It was the not Bjork.
Oh,
when you're playing Zork and listening to Bjork, there's a whole parody video in there somewhere. Like that's the only game I had that summer. Like that's all I had to do. Like if I was trying to get Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, playing it, like so you'd bang your head on a puzzle all day and then you'd go to sleep and you wake up just knowing how to solve it. You'd be like, oh, I figured that out in my sleep or something.
And that's such a satisfying feeling.
And that's a great feeling. And it's hard now where there's like you could just instead just go online and look up the solution really easily, or just start being mad about being stuck. You start playing another game. There's so many other things to do. It's really hard to stay in that mode of like letting yourself be stuck and be frustrated.
And it's wild because I wonder, is that an adventure game problem versus when I played The Witness, like there are guides out there that I could look up for The Witness, but I didn't want to look up those guides because I know I'm playing a puzzle game. Like I know the fun and satisfaction comes. I
thought about it for Baba Is You. I'm like, I'm stuck on like every single level that's open to me. I'm stuck on 5 different.
Don't get me started on Baba Is You because Baba Is You.
Hard.
Like I love puzzle games. Baba Is You kicked my ass. That game made
Did you finish it?
Oh, I didn't get close. I was like, I made it to like the second world, and I was like, I'm out. I can't do this.
I love it, and it's like when you solve it, like you said, you just like, oh my god, how did I? Yes, Galaxy brain. You like, so I'm so smart. But
that's why I like Patrick's Parabox because Patrick, like Baba Is You, is just so difficult. Whereas Patrick's Parabox, slightly difficult, but like go figure it out. Like there's like enough like
I haven't felt stumped. And I asked Arndt from Playdead, like because Limbo had this experience of like every time I was just about to give up on a puzzle in Limbo, it worked right then. And I was like, I was just about to put this controller down. And I asked like, how did you guys do that? And he goes, we took years and watched people play it. Like you just test it. Yeah. And you watch it and you see where people are getting stuck and you just make small adjustments to like hints and difficulty and stuff like that. So it's very labor intensive to tune an adventure game.
Yeah. We got a super chat here from Nigel Martin who says, Tim Schafer, Hot Ones episode go. What's in his brain? I'm not going to subject you to like just eating hot peppers here, even though I don't even know if you have hot peppers. But I'm not like someone with an iron stomach for like hot. I would probably just be tapping out after the first one. Like I got so hot, but maybe not.
We do finally have the really hot sauce that Roger wasn't able to get for the Greg one that he did.
Oh, we still have it?
Okay. Oh, he just got it finally like a couple days ago.
Here, bring it out.
I'm scared about like why are those hot? Like what are they doing to your body? What is happening there? Is that something humans are supposed to be eating?
Absolutely.
Like really hot peppers?
I feel like I need to take my contacts out because I don't want to have those in.
Oh, for sure.
But there must be some sort of like poison that you're taking in your body to make your body react like that. What's happening?
That's what being a human is.
Taking in poison.
Yeah, half the things we put in our bodies are great for us.
I think it's avoidable if you work hard on
Like
it.
we drink alcohol and like we drink.
that's
And I listen. I'm not casting shade towards any of these things because listen, I love to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
But like we eat so much processed food and we do all the stuff that we shouldn't.
So
But we enjoy it, and so we do it anyway. This is part of life.
okay.
Tim, it's time for kindafunny.com/you're wrong. That's where you write in. Let us know what we got wrong as we got it wrong so we can correct it for those watching later on YouTube and listening later on podcast services around the globe. IRR Gamer says, just as additional information, it seems Spec Ops The Line was only removed from Steam, not from other platforms. Interesting. The plot thickens. Or it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe somebody pressed the button on accident. Who knows? But there you go. That's it for You're Wrong, which means
Wait, that's the only mistake we made?
only mistake we made.
I planted at least 3 other mistakes just to see that.
They're not
but
paying attention.
No one caught them.
Yeah. Out of the 1,000 people out there listening right now, they're just like, they're slacking.
It's actually pronounced Bajork. That was one of the mistakes. So
Bajork.
Yeah.
Bajork.
the Jork.
Tim, it's been a wonderful episode. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's like a fun show. It's nice to be in this space. I feel so welcome, and it's a very fantastic. I've learned a lot.
I've also learned a lot. Yeah, hell yeah.
I did not expect to talk about adventure games.
Listen, that's what I when before you came on, right? I do my research. I had to figure out who's my guest. You think I knew who Tim Schafer was before today? No, I had to look it up.
Does anyone?
But also, I just like Broken Age.
Does anyone know anyone?
Where can people go to support Day of the Devs?
I think dayofthedevs.com is the quickest place to find all the links. There's a fundraising going on for the show, so we can, and they should come look up when the live show, if you're in San Francisco or LA or can get there. I would recommend just going to one of those live shows. They're so fun. They're really like inspiring. They make you want to play more games. They make you want to make games. They make you love games.
Hell yeah. And Barrett has the thing pulled up on the video to the website. Can you pull that back up again? Because I want to see what the goal is. The goal is $500,000. Right now, they're about to hit 40,000. Go over to the Day of the Devs website, donate and support. It's a great way. If you're one of those people out there, like many of us here, that are like, yo, indie games need support. You know, like we got to put more a spotlight on more of these games. We want more creative games. If you're somebody who is looking for that kind of thing, Day of the Devs is making that happen. And so go over to the website, hit the button, support Day of the Devs so they can do more of the streams, do more of the showcases, do things like being at the MoMA and showing off the games. It's really cool.
Without making a profit.
And
if you're a developer, submit your game and come show your game.
There you go. And if they want to submit their game, where do they go for that?
At the same website.
Same website.
Link on there. Dayofthedevs.com.
Of course, this has been Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy news you need to know about live on YouTube, Twitch, and podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, please support us with the Kinda Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. Until next time, Game Daily. Shake hands.